Hey guys, welcome back to the Fergie Time podcast. Today I'll be sharing with you my Matchweek 4 Premier League predictions. Before I jump into my Matchweek 4 predictions, I want to do a little recap for Matchweek 3. In Matchweek 3, I got 5 out of 10 predictions correct, moving my total to 16 out of 28. Also, some major upsets from Matchweek 3 included Leicester beating Man City and West Ham beating Wolves. Also, major shout out to this week's winner, Noor, who got 5 out of 10 predictions correct and correctly predicted Leicester City to beat Manchester City. If you guys would like to be featured in next week's video, make sure to leave your score predictions down below in the comments, and the person who gets the most predictions correct will receive a shout out. For our first match, we have Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. Chelsea are coming off a 3-3 draw against West Brom and a loss in the EFL Cup to Tottenham Hotspur on penalties. And while Chelsea had really high expectations going into the season, they have not looked very good. They look often incohesive and they look like a very new team, which they are. That said, they'll have a major boost in this one as the likes of Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, and Ben Chilwell will all finally be back from injury, and I think that will help them a lot going forward in their attack, because at times the forwards are making runs and the midfielders and the forwards just aren't on the same page. Jorginho, Conte, not sure what runs Werner is making, and I think Pulisic will help that with that regard. So I think Chelsea will be a lot more cohesive than they have been versus the Palace side coming off a 2-1 loss to Everton. And honestly, Palace have looked really good this season. I mean, since the Premier League season began, have been playing some great football. Zaha's been brilliant, and while they lost to Everton, they still played quite solid. Defensively, very robust under Roy Hodgson, so I think this will be a closely contested match. However, I have Chelsea getting the win 2-1 on odds of 2-5. Everton versus Brighton. Everton are coming off a 2-1 win against Crystal Palace and have been in great form under Carlo Ancelotti in this new Premier League season with 3 straight wins. The additions of James Rodriguez, Alon, and Decore have been key for them, and they look like a different side from last season. That said, going to this match, they will be without Richarlison, one of their key players, as he has suffered an injury, so that could affect them. Versus a Brighton side coming off a 3-2 loss against Man United, and they were very unlucky with that one with 5 shots off the post and also a late VAR decision that was very controversial. And Brighton are playing some great football this season under Graham Potter. The likes of Maupay, Trossard, and Lamptey are all great players to watch out for in this one. I have it being a highly competitive match, but I give the edge to Everton 2-0 on odds of a 8-11. Leeds versus Manchester City. Leeds are coming off a 1-0 win against Sheffield United, and just generally in the Premier League this year, they have looked absolutely brilliant. The hardest working team, in my opinion, and the fittest team, and I think those are great core values to have at a club. Bielsa has his team playing that rotational style, and they're very, very disciplined in the defense, so they're a hard team to match up against. Versus the Man City side, coming off a 5-2 loss to Leicester, and I mean, they were exposed defensively, looked good in the attack, moving the ball, becoming expansive, but that left them exposed defensively, left them in 3v2s and 2v1s, and their defenders had a really hard time with it. We've got to see if Pep can come up with any fixes for the City defense, because they have been shocking in the last 6 months. In my opinion, I think City will still nick the win 2-1 on odds of 1-3. Newcastle United versus Burnley. Newcastle are coming off a 1-1 draw against Tottenham Hotspur, where they were very lucky to get a point, largely due to a mixture of the handball rule and VAR. This Newcastle team has looked relatively uninspired under manager Steve Bruce this season. I mean, they have some great attacking players, Ryan Fraser, Callum Wilson, Alon St-Maximin, but nonetheless don't look very good going forward and have trouble keeping the ball at large periods throughout the match. Versus a Burnley side that haven't been good themselves, losing their first 2 matches. I think the most recent was a 1-0 loss to Southampton. And this Burnley team has struggled as they brought in very few to no players this summer transfer window, so it's made it really difficult for them and manager Sean Dyche. I think this game will be quite a boring one, and I have it ending a 1-1 draw on odds of 11-8. Leicester City versus West Ham United. Leicester City are coming off that massive 5-2 win over Man City last week with the hat-trick from Jamie Vardy, of course. And this Leicester side is very versatile. Against Man City, they sat defended in 2 banks of 4. However, against lower level clubs like you could argue West Ham are, they can open up, become more expansive, and possess the ball. So expect this Leicester team, I believe, to look to play out a bit more, but always use that long option of Jamie Vardy when it is on. Versus a West Ham side coming off a 4-0 win against Wolves, and we all know this West Ham team on paper is very good, but they finally played like it. And the likes of Jared Bowen, I mean, he's absolutely an excellent player. Big fan of Thomas Souček. So I think this West Ham side has potential, and let's see if they can grow on that result from last week. That said, I'm still going to give Leicester the win 3-1 on odds of 8-13. Southampton versus West Brom. Southampton are coming off a 1-0 win against Burnley, where they played alright, didn't play brilliant, but nonetheless, Danny Ings got the goal, and they got the result. The Southampton side is a very solid side, nothing special, but against lower tier Premier League clubs, can possess the ball, open them up, and create loads of chances. Versus the West Brom side coming off a major 3-3 draw against Chelsea, where they scored 3 goals in the first half. That said, they did concede 3 goals in the second half, and that's the major problem for me with West Brom is their defense. I don't think they have a Premier League quality defense, and because of that, I'm going to give Southampton the win, 2-0 on odds of 8-11. Wolves versus Fulham. Wolves are coming off a 4-0 loss to West Ham United, where going forward they weren't good enough, didn't create enough quality chances on target, but defensively, I mean, they were absolutely shocking. That's not the first time that back three this season has had some major questions asked of them, so I think that's something to monitor going forward. However, I think it was a fluke, and I think Wolves will bounce back from this one. Versus the Fulham side coming off a 3-0 loss to Villa, and this Fulham team is not in great form. I mean, apart from Mitrovic, where are the goals going to come from? This Fulham team can possess the ball all they want, but they cannot create good opportunities on goal. They will not score enough in the Premier League this season. So, I had this match ending a 2-1 win to Wolves on odds of 3-1. Arsenal versus Sheffield United. Arsenal are coming off that 3-1 loss to Liverpool, where they actually played quite well, very competitive, and showed they could compete against any club in the Premier League. This Arsenal team is totally different under Arteta. They actually can defend now. They feel comfortable defending for large parts of the match, and if they need to, then they can counterattack. That counterattack on the goal from Lacazette, the first goal, was absolutely brilliant from Arsenal. And this Arsenal team, against lower tiered clubs like you could argue Sheffield United are, can then possess and dominate the game. Versus the Sheffield side that have lost their first 3 matches in the Premier League, and they're suffering, in my opinion, heavily from second season syndrome and also a lack of signings in the transfer window. And it's going to be difficult for Sheffield, in my opinion, to turn this around now the momentum has started so poorly. For me, the key players are going to have to be the likes of John Egan, and I think their forwards of McBurney and McGoldrick are going to have to step up at some point and score more goals if they want to win some games. For me, I had this one ending a 3-1 win to Arsenal on odds of 4-7. Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspur. Man United are coming off that 3-2 win against Brighton, where they were very lucky. Brighton hit the woodwork 5 times, and United got a late VAR penalty decision to win the match. This United team, I mean, is just not playing up to their potential. Their backline, the pairing of Maguire and Lindelof, is just not good enough. They get exposed for pace defensively, and they're not organized enough either. Like, you need someone like Harry Maguire as your captain center back to be a little more vocal on the pitch, because the organization's really bad, and I think that lies a lot on him, De Gea, and Lindelof. On top of that, this United side at times also looks a little disjointed going forward, and they don't have a playing style. We like to sit in and counter-attack, but when that's not on, when we actually do have to play and move the ball, we look uncomfortable in possession. Versus the Tottenham side coming off that 1-1 draw against Newcastle, where they played great, but they were robbed of the match because of that handball rule. It's very hard for the Tottenham, and Mourinho was absolutely pissed after the match. And this Spurs side will be without Heung-min Son, a massive blow to them because he picked up an injury in the Newcastle game. So I think that'll hurt their chances. Overall, I think this will be quite an even match. I think it'll be a boring match, neither team really being comfortable in possession, and I have it ending a 1-1 draw on odds of 11-4. Liverpool versus Aston Villa. Liverpool coming off a 3-1 win against Arsenal, where it was a very impressive team performance. But one player that really stood out for me was Sadio Mane. I mean, recently it seems like he's always in the right place at the right time, creating off the dribble, making dangerous runs in the attack, and I mean, he just changes the way teams have to defend against Liverpool. And this Liverpool side, they may have Jordan Henderson returning, which would be a big boost, obviously, as he is their captain. They will be without Thiago because he has tested positive for COVID-19. So that could be a blow for them, but they're a very deep team, so I don't think it'll affect them too much. Versus the Villa side, coming off a 3-0 win against Fulham, and Villa have actually looked quite good this year. They've improved from last season for sure. Jack Grealish bagged the goal. And this Villa side, while they're still not the strongest defensively, they're looking better going forward, and I think that's good for them. But against Liverpool, I just don't see them really competing. I have Liverpool winning 2-0 on odds of 3-10. Thank you guys for watching. To be featured in next week's video, make sure to leave your score predictions for Matchweek 4 down below in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more amazing football content. We will end it there. Thank you, and take it easy. Peace.
I see the blue in her eyes from the sunshine. See the purple in her heart when it's nighttime. She just wanna be in her right mind. She couldn't give a damn about the limelight. So orchestrate your